mute button.
Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night. It's the 12th of October, 2023. It's 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern. If you got this any other time than that, you've got the recorded version right there on YouTube. And that's all right. Hang tight. We're going to get started here in just a second. I'm hanging out with Dave McCabe, and we are reminiscing some about the old days, questioning some about the future days that are ahead. Dave, always great to hang out with you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
It's a little slow on the mute button tonight, Jim. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm out of practice. I'm out of practice for sure.
A little out of practice.
See, I'm even breaking things.
No worries, man. No.
I'm surprised everything worked when I came up here. I couldn't even find the office. I was like, where's that desk I used to have?
It is a little surprising because it can, like, you can start disconnecting things and you're like, okay, wait a minute, this was plugged into that, and then I had to flip this switch to get this going. And then,
like, I'm at the point where if something breaks in my house and it's technology related, it's out, it's gone.
Yeah, well,
throw it away.
You're super busy with the kids, you're out all the time, like, that renaissance will probably happen again once the kids, you're at the end. Like, I know you think, like, no, I'm in the middle of it. No, you're at the end of it. Like, these kids are going to college before you know it. And
it is getting scary. Yeah.
It's just you and the wife hanging around staring at each other, wondering, what do we do next?
Yeah, it is getting to that point.
Yeah, it's fast. It goes so fast. But that's what everybody says. You're doing a good job. I think you're doing a good job of enjoying it. You're spending a lot of time with the kids. I see a lot of pictures on Facebook, and you're doing a lot of stuff with them, which I think is key. I think that's good. I think parents are doing a lot more with their kids than they used to, maybe. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the crazy thing is, Jim, is you've seen these children grow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were at my Wisconsin house.
Yeah.
You were at 2 houses here in Indiana.
Yeah.
You have been with them almost, since they were born. I mean, the first child, he's the reason for me getting into the business,
Yeah.
I needed somewhere to back up photos.
Yeah.
That's what started Home Server Show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, and I remember when Max was born.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've kind of watched him grow up. It's been a privilege to kind of both see it from the inside, mostly from the outside, but from the inside as well. But it's always good to be back podcasting with you. This is always in pre-show. I always talk about, like, with you especially, like, how many more of these we gonna do? I told Sarah, well, 600, and then the other day she was like, so what's that number again? I was like, I don't know. Did I say something?
I don't remember.
I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. So it's always a good night to come out there. Ken's says, good to see you, Dave. Thanks for coming out. He's too nice, too made for radio voices. Made for radio, maybe not video, but
absolutely. I look like I just rolled out of the wood shop, which I did. So
yeah, you did. We'll talk a little bit about that. Ken, Joe's checking in. Brian, good to see you out there as well. Brian, did you were you Home Server Show guy? Did you catch in on that, or did you come at the tail end of that and join in here? I can't remember. I always have trouble remembering who was out there. When did you shut down? What was the last Home Server Show? When was that? Do you remember what year?
I don't remember.
Do you remember what year that was? How long ago that was? 17?
We did it at a meetup. It was 17 or 18. We did it at a meetup, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
Then I did Reset for 3.
I think it's even earlier than that. Maybe it was 16. Because did you do Reset into the pandemic, or had you stopped it by that point?
That's so awful. Did I stop it last year? No, it was way prior to that.
It was earlier. I think you stopped it before the pandemic even started, right? In 20?
I think what happened is I tried to pick it up. Okay. Pandemic. I recorded a show with Aunt Pruitt, and I recorded a show with
you had me
with Gunther, and I had you.
Yeah.
You were the only one I published.
Yeah.
My my route back. I published yours.
Yeah, you're
I was supposed to go with Gunther and Pruitt, and I never published theirs. They never. I didn't even send them a gift card to say sorry. I think they just understood.
yeah,
I wasn't there.
yeah.
Just wasn't there.
I know. Well,
Yeah,
it's a
I was
challenge.
gonna come back with force.
Yeah,
And I did. I mean, Gunther, Ant, Pruitt, Jim Collison.
Yeah, you had it all.
I was
You had it all kind of lined
there,
up,
baby.
Yeah. Ken thinks 2016. I would agree with the 16 number. I think
I could
that
look
was
back
the
through
last time
photos.
that's the last time we got together. I think was 2016. Then you did reset 17, 18, and 19, kind of. Then it started wavering, and then the pandemic came. All kinds of craziness. Yeah, all kinds of craziness. All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about. I don't want to hold you all night. So let me get this thing kicked off. You know how this goes. So let me get it kicked off and we'll go from there. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 587 with guest Dave McCabe, recorded on October 12th, 2023. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.TV studios here in a thunderstorm. It's kind of weird to be in October and have thunderstorms rolling through, but that's happening tonight. And of course, we'll post a show with some world-class show notes. We're backed up well, so the show's not going to go anywhere out at the averageguy.tv. Big thanks to Bob and Ryan, who joined me last week from thinkcomputers.org. It's a miracle I didn't buy anything after that show. Usually those guys talk me into something. I didn't do it, but if you want to catch that show, it's out there now. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/HGG587. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. If you're finding value in the podcast and you want to give back, and a bunch of you do, appreciate you doing that, head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. I mentioned him earlier. It's always great to be with him. He is my best friend in podcasting. Dave McCabe is here. Dave, welcome back.
Hello, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you. I know Uyghur's not around anymore, so I can say that. I can say you're my best friend in podcasting.
I always enjoy coming back, though. And I always enjoyed speaking with Uyghur, too. We went through some crypto.
Yeah, we did.
Me, you, and him back in the day.
We did. I think I remember leaving your house at some point, installing a GPU or something, right?
We did.
So you could do some
That's
crypto?
right.
Yeah.
You initially got me, and did we go out and buy us?
I think we went out to
Fry's.
Yeah.
And bought a GPU, came back and put on nice hash.
We stayed up late that night. I had an early
Something
flight.
went wrong.
Yeah. You were taking me to the airport early.
Yeah.
And it was across town. Fishers is way up north. The airport is way down south.
Yeah.
So we got up super early. You dropped me I think that's the last meetup. And God, it's hard to think we've been doing it that
long. I know. A lot of things have changed.
A lot has, and a lot has stayed the same. I mean, listen, in the last couple of years, you've kind of gotten into the wood shop, right? You're working on that. What's been amazing to watch you go through that is those tools, they've gotten a little more high tech in what they're doing, but they're still it's still table saws and routers. And I mean, I watch these guys online do this stuff, and there's a few more jigs, right? And different kinds of things you can do. But that hasn't changed a lot. Would you agree or disagree with that statement? You think there's a lot of technology in the
the basics have remained the same, and these guys with their YouTubes, they are honing this skill towards technology and the things that are coming out now. I mean, obviously everybody has seen the hot dog table saw, where if you touch the blade and it'll just the blade just drops into the table. You don't cut your finger off and change your life forever. But there are handheld CNCs, by Shaper Tools, and there are router tables that are just amazing, and there's all kinds of neat stuff. And I used to when we were in the technical world, part of the allure of the whole thing is the research, the reading, the comparing, and the acquiring. Gadget acquisition was always a thing. It was like, I have a new thing, right? I have something to do this weekend because I have to do this thing. And woodworking, and much like photography, I found as well, it's it's really really similar, where it's an acquisition of a tool, and you use that tool and you practice that tool, and then you add that tool into your arsenal of tools to make tables, or whatever you're
Mhm.
making. And
Or designs like that's over my shoulder here. If you're watching the video, you
hey,
made
there's your sign. I
album art
forgot about
for me.
that.
Yeah, yeah. No, you sent
That
that
just
to me last.
blended right in, Jim. I
Yeah.
completely spaced on that. that's
Yeah.
that's
No,
awesome.
it's proudly displayed there over my left shoulder, and that's a cool. I mean, it's a super cool. Like you made that, and for me, I mean, that's special. It's special to me that you took the time to do the art. I don't have the patience for that kind of stuff. I've kind of realized I'm kind of an instant guy, and I like to do a lot of things instantly, but I don't do very well on the long-term projects, right?
Hmm.
Because you gotta bring some patience to it. I think you talked about that last time you were on, right?
One of my most favorite things to do is just to get that idea in your head, and you're like, "Ooh, I bet you I could do that. I bet you I could draw that. I bet you I could create that." And it starts with technology, Jim. I mean, it's crazy the amount of software that I've had to learn, to get into um, this maker space, especially with that
Mhm,
CNC drawing that you have there.
mhm,
It wasn't that hard, but you have to trace all of that. You got to put it on the screen, and then you have to hone that, because it's never perfect, and you want it to be perfect. Your G in Gadget Geeks, it has some defined lines and corners, and they all have to be the same, ratio of curve, or otherwise it's not going to look good. So,
mhm.
because that's not a font, Jim.
Right.
Someone had to draw that, your
You outlined
logo.
it, right?
Yeah,
You outlined it for the
yeah.
CNC, and you can't see it on the camera now, but if with the light shining on it, you can kind of see some of the back. I don't know what you'd call it, shadows of some things that the CNC did to
You
kinda
can see
get it.
some of the tool path
Yes, there you
that's
go.
under that paint. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And that's something that's really hard to get rid of. You have to sand for days and days and days and days to get in there. And I get better at that, but it's really hard in those little spaces like that one right there.
last time we had you on and I bought one of those, you were making some bar, some for a smoker for a drink for a cocktail. You had some
Yeah.
charcuterie boards. How's that going? Did you is that is it
That's
going where you want it to go?
um I would obviously you always want more, but that's one of my drinkware is one of my most popular items, if you will. And it's two things, Jim. I design for Etsy, and I sell the digital programs, the digital plans, but I also sell locally. Not I don't go to craft fairs or anything. I don't extend myself that way, but I will, show it around, and people know that, they can get some of their wares here. And I've made shot trays, and there's a certain I don't even know the name of it, but there's a bourbon glass that's a certain size and bell shaped, and I make uh, trays that hold those specifically, and customization. That's the big key, where you can put their last name on it, or you can put the restaurant name or the bar name. And yeah, I can either CNC that, or I can laser that. And a lot of the times I'll do a little bit of both. I'll cut something out of walnut, put some shot glasses in it, put a lime tray where you can put limes in it, and then I'll finish that all up, and then I'll laser in a name or a logo or something, for someone, and just personalize it.
Give me for folks who weren't around the last time we talked about this, if they wanted to get plans or some of the products I bought from you, maybe one of the first on your store, I think, pretty close.
Yeah, I think
And it's
maybe you
still
were.
it's working pretty well. It's a smoker, right? It's a drink
Mhm.
smoker. So you ship me it's a just a round piece, goes over the glass, got a hole in it, puts wood chips on the top, fire it up with the torch, and it shoots smoke down into the drink. We've used it quite a few times. It's still
Oh,
doing
good.
pretty well. Yeah, still
Yeah,
doing
it's
pretty
a
well.
whiskey smoker,
Yeah.
and, I've smoked a lot of apple juice in testing when I was cutting those. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I sell the plan, but I also sell the actual, white oak, smoker itself, and I'll bundle that up with some oak, wood chips, and I never have branched out to other chips. Jim, is there any other flavor? I
Cherry'd
mean,
be good,
I could throw
or
in some cherry.
yeah, yeah, with drinks, you got it. Some people think mesquite, but that's more of a meat kind of thing.
Okay.
It just depends on like your own
Mhm.
kind of your own palate on that. Applewood would be really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
If I just gotta get a hold of that, and I have a certain way that I do it. I have to clean a machine completely to get out,
yeah,
in case I've run through some maple or some oak or, whatever, so I can have it perfect, and then, I start running that just manually, and I capture all that. It's not dust, it's actual chips. I have to get it to a point where
right,
I'm making a
right.
chip.
Yeah, and a small one. I mean, they're
Yeah, it
very,
needs to be
very small.
small.
Right,
I mean, I
right.
tested with so many different sizes, and which I shouldn't have. I should have just said, "Hey, get your own chips." But
I still
but
have the bag you gave me. I
well,
mean, like,
if you're
it's very
successful,
generous.
if you get a brand new car and they don't put gas in the tank, you're just sitting there like, "Well, what do
Yeah,
I do with it?"
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, our big box liquor store, selling those now. Well, I'm
Okay.
glad I got yours, but you can get chips there too if you go to that. If you want to get them there, you can. But it was listen, it was neat for me to get it from you. You shipped it to me with some screens and chips, and we use that thing pretty frequently. As the fall is coming on, we'll use it more
Yeah.
as we go out and do cocktails
Yeah.
around the fire. If you go to Etsy.com, search Dave McCabe Woodworks, you
Yeah.
can find that there. Do you have a site as well dedicated to that, or is it
Yeah,
just Etsy?
actually, this podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. No, um, warped boards, like warped bent boards, warpedboards.com. That's my website, and it is a Squarespace.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, and it gives you I've this is a journey I've also followed you on, and so it's been fun to see you get a little bit here, building some cabinets there. We'll maybe talk about that here in a little bit. Some cabinets here, some charcuterie boards, the drinks. You mentioned to me though that you went 3D printer, and this is a 3D printer is something like I know I want it. I can never pull the trigger. Every time I get close to pulling the trigger on it, I'm like, I am never going to use this thing. Why? Because it takes too much work. You got to plan for things. I'm just not good at that kind of stuff. But obviously, because you have a wood shop, you are. Why a 3D printer? What are you doing with it?
Well, I'll tell you. I I used to go to CES all the time, and I would go through the 3D printing aisle, and I would just covet. I'm just like, I want one of these. And I never felt like I was qualified to do it. And I was gonna walk up to him and say, "Hey, I'm so and so. I give me a 3D printer and we'll figure it out. And we'll do videos or something." And I never did it. I never pulled the trigger because it was always difficult. If you looked up what these guys had to do and to perform every time they printed something, it was always a hassle. You always had to level the bed, and you always had filament problems and heat problems and hot end problems. And it was a mess, Jim. It was a mess. So I always waited and I watched and waited. And then I found a company last year around this time that had a Kickstarter. And I was like, I'm going to watch this because what they're saying is shooting that puck to me, to the consumer that I am. And I've been burnt by Kickstarters before, so I did not invest the money into their first machine. But I watched that first machine come out, and it had some hiccups and it had some troubles, and it got refined and software improved, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this is a good machine. And then they came out with their second machine, right? So they started iterating, and then they started pushing the technology down farther and farther in price. Now, we're talking about machines that 3D printing were $200, $300, $500, right? You could get into a machine. You buy a $500 3D printer and you're golden, right? What normally happened is you bought a $200 or $300 3D printer and you put $500 worth of add-on parts onto it just so it would work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what these guys were doing is they were trying to be the Apple of the 3D printing world. You take it out of the box, you click a few buttons, you attach something, the door, whatever, something very easily out of shipping. You open their software, highly, highly moderated and curated software to that machine, and you hit print. And instead of a big glob of spaghetti filament, you got a print, right? Now that company, and anybody that's followed 3D printers right now, this company is either loved or hated, is a company out of China called Bambu Labs. And they came out with the X1C, the X1 Carbon, and then they came out with the P1P. Their third machine was the P1S, and now they have an even more entry-level machine called the A1. Now, what these guys have done is, Jim, back in the day, what the 3D printer looks like. It's got the flat bed, it's got an X and a Y, or it's got a Z, and then the bed moves like this. It was called a bed slinger, and the print head stayed in the same spot, right? The reason I clued into this company is because they created an XY printer, meaning it had movement in the X and the Y region as well as Z up and down. And that's exactly what I am trained to do with the CNC. My brain thinks XYZ, right? I know how that works. And I was like, I think I can get behind this. Now, what you're showing your viewers is the Bambu Lab P1S. This is the entry-level printer, but it has the sides and the doors and the top. But it also comes with this little gadget on the top with 4 rolls of filament in this box called the material management system, or the AMS, automatic material system. And you can print in those 4 colors, Jim, and it will change them on the fly for you. If you have a little white, it'll print a white, a little green, a little red, and it'll go back and forth, and it'll make whatever you want in multiple
Where in
colors.
the past you'd have to change the filament, right, to make
Yes,
that
you would, in
happen.
your software, you would have to build in a pause and then pull out the filament, put in the new filament, purge the filament, and then hit print, and then hope that you had enough flowing that it was going to pick up and do everything, what you wanted. Now, I got one that's similar to this, Jim, but this is mine is called the P1P. It's a very stripped down black box. It had no sides, no doors, no windows right there, and it's just basic, but it has the XYZ, and it's an amazing printer, Jim. Amazing, and it did everything that I was hoping it would do. That I followed this company for many, many months. I put it in the basement, Jim, in the exact same spot where you and I sat on the floor and put a 1060 video card into one of my PCs and
I
got
know that
nice
spot.
hash running.
Yeah.
Sat in that spot and printed out my first print. And I was just blown away. I've since I built a desk. I'm a woodworker. I needed a desk. I built a desk, and I have it in my office, which is now a hobby room. I've built a ginormous hobby desk for Legos and models and whatnot, and me and the boys will sit at our hobby desk and throw Legos at each other. So we have a good time.
Yeah, that's nice. The Lego bit, right? My kids, I mean, listen, my kids, my oldest, almost 35, and we were talking about Christmas this year, and
Mhm.
they're still adding Legos to
Oh yeah,
their
yeah.
to their
I
yeah
have one. I'm in the middle. I can look over here and look at my table, and I see my Lego that's in process.
yeah. Well, and my Marine, he builds the NASA Legos, so he's
Mhm.
got the space shuttle and the
Mhm.
Apollo, all the Apollo stuff, and all the NASA gear. He likes. So what was the first thing you printed? I mean, what'd you
I
print on that
did
thing?
I did test prints, Jim, of
Okay,
course.
all right.
I refined what I thought it would do, how I thought it would do it, and then I bought it, Jim, to help me out in the wood shop. I mean, simple as that. I wanted to print extra little doodads to help me out, organization. I have some tools that you can that 3D prints are readily available for them to, that clip on that help you. I always have an idea of like, man, if I just could, you know, print that.
Mhm.
If I could just do that. And I had the experience in 2D with the CNC. Now the CNC is a subtractive mechanism, right? You put a block of something and you subtract material away from it to create. And 3D, you have to think opposite. You have to lay foundations. You have to create something in 3D space, and that took different softwares and new thinkings, and where you're creating rectangles and circles and extruding it and dimensions and cuts, and it, it's amazing. It's fun to get an idea in your head and you think, wait, I could make that. And then I'm one of those people where if that happens at 11 p.m., I'm screwed, because I will be up until 3 a.m.,
Yeah, yeah,
getting that idea out of my head, trying to create that in a 3D workspace,
yeah.
and then throwing it onto the printer. I remember the first thing I did, I was like, I needed this round gasket thing, you know, and I was like, I can do this. I can do this. I was like, wait a minute. I have to literally create the circle, extrude it to the depth that I want the gasket, and then do the inner diameter and the outer diameter. I'm like, that's very easy. But it hit me at that point. It's like, wait a minute. I'm not downloading, a dinosaur off the free 3D printer site
Mhm,
anymore. I'm
mhm.
creating what I need at that moment. And it's one of those magical moments that unlocks in your brain. It's like, wait a minute, I can make this,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I think it requires, when you're sculpting, that's also taking away. But I think it's the same idea, this creativity of building something out of nothing. And
Hmm.
I've never been very good at that. You talk about this, and I'm like, oh, that would be super frustrating for me. Now, if you could, if I could get a community
Hmm.
and they had plans and there was things I could go get,
Yeah.
bring it in and print it. I'm assuming that
That's a
exists.
beautiful thing with this. Now, it is changing and it's changing very fast. And Jim, when I first got into it, and I'm talking early summer, right, is when I first got my printer. Um, you can go to all these different sites out here on the internet and just look through not hundreds, not thousands, tens of thousands of free things to do. And yes, you can print a Pokemon. You can print something from the Mario world, but you can also people just have a need, Jim. And like that gasket of mine, you can take that gasket and just put it online and say, hey, if you have a need for a gasket that's this, here's it free. I built it. Take it. And there's this stupid thing like this thing right here. Um, it's just this little holder for a Apple Watch puck, right? It just holds an Apple Watch. And I have a hand-me-down Apple Watch, and sometimes when it's up here, I'll throw it on that little thing. And it was one of those, like, I ran across it and was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I
Yeah.
should just print that.
Yeah.
And I told myself, well, I'm not gonna get crazy printing tchotchkes and knickknacks. But I don't know. I see something. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Let me grab this. I have SSDs and little hard drives on my desk, plugged into the back of my computer. And I can literally slide that drive into this little holder. I don't have, yeah, here we do. I still have tons of hard drives, guys. It
Something
never changes.
Yeah, it never changes.
Right. Here's a little, it's just an example of, a small SSD. And I mostly have those little external Western Digital drives that have the little glossy case,
Right.
and it just sits. I got it. It just sits in this little holder on your desk. It's just little things like that just blow me away that somebody had the need and they just like, I'm just going to make that.
What does something like that? How much time? There's a lot of material. You think in that hard drive holder that you get there. What's something on this new printer?
This was probably an hour or two
Okay.
to print, and it was probably something this size here, Jim. This is fitting in the palm of my hand for audio listeners.
Yeah.
This was probably 70 cents in plastic
and filament,
because you can get a kilogram of filament for anywhere from $12 to $30, depending on its type. And I just print in the very basic filaments called PLA, polylactic acid something. And you can print those and it doesn't release off like harmful gases and like if you're printing carbon fiber stuff.
Mm-hmm. Joe asked, do those require you to use their filaments? So for these,
you know what? I have found their filaments, Bambu Labs, are amazing. They'll put an RFID tag into their spool. And when you put it in that material system, that little box of 4, it'll recognize that and it'll tell your software immediately, hey, this is a PLA matte. It's marine blue and it starts with 1 kilogram. It knows, and then it will count off how much it uses and get to the end. So, you can use theirs, but you can also use filaments you get off Amazon. Amazon has some basic stuff I wouldn't use, but there's other manufacturers, Sunlu and eSun. And if you're fortunate enough to have a Microcenter near you, Microcenter has their own filament brand called Inland, and they put it on sale all the time, Jim. And we here in the X Home Server Show headquarters now have a Microcenter.
Oh.
And it is one of the most amazing stores. Jim, I don't want to rub this in at all.
You are, but keep going.
I'm going to. In my Microcenter parking lot, I can throw a rock and hit 3 stores. Microcenter, Rockler. For those that don't know, Rockler is a woodworking store that has amazing tools and everything you could ever want. And a Harbor Freight.
Oh.
So
cheap tools.
3 places. And if I throw the rock a little harder, I can hit a Sam Ash, an REI. It's just this amazing spot here in central Indiana that I'm sure if we had another meetup, we would go to the Microcenter.
Is that in Fishers? Is that in Fishers?
It is not. They put it right off one of the big freeways.
Okay.
So, but is literally like 15 minutes from me, Jim.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. In it, these, okay. So, you prefaced this conversation with, 3D printing, we've kind of gotten the idea that you can get a $150 or a $300 one. The one you got is $600.
I am
Right.
in about $1,000
Okay.
because I bought that material system,
Mhm.
which that was my plan all along. And they just recently released, you can get into the A1, which is a smaller, it's actually a bed slinger Bambu Lab printer with a material system. I think you can get into that for $500 or less. So,
And they say out of the box, ready to go, 15-minute setup. You
yes,
can be printing in 15 minutes. Is
that
that
is the absolute truth.
wow? Wow.
I had a great experience with it. Now, you're going to find experiences that vary, from people to people. Stuff gets damaged, but if you do have a Microcenter near you, they stock this printer and you can purchase it from
Huh.
them as well.
Vibration compensation, extrusion compensation. So it's compensating, right, for some of the stuff that may happen. It
It
has automatic leveling.
automatic bed leveling. It prints faster than any printer on the market, pretty close, except some very high end, hand hewn type printers. But it prints so fast, Jim, that the head moves and the machine will move.
Ah,
So they have those vibration dampeners. They have sensors, and when you get it, you run a program, and it will vibrate it on purpose, so it can measure the return vibrations where you have it sitting. If you have it sitting on a pizza box, it's going to move all over the place. But anytime you move it, you just rerun that calibration, and it will do that for you automatically.
yeah. So it has like an automatic, like your printer has got a cleaning, clean the head and those things. It has some automatic things you can hit and it'll recenter itself
Yeah,
basically, or
it does that.
rewrite itself.
It does that. It has an app for Android and iOS, and you can literally it's a print from the cloud type device, which both makes people happy and freaks people out, right? Because
Yeah.
it's connected, and
Right.
people don't like that. People have tinfoil hats.
Right.
I don't mind. If they want to see the stupid crap that I'm printing, that's fine. I don't care. Anybody can take a look at the stupid crap I'm printing. I do have a couple of designs that are my own that I am selling on Etsy, but they're not like, we're not talking rocket ship parts here. If they get copied, they get copied. If someone steals it and makes it, because you can literally look at the idea and go, well, I can make that,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
Why would I pay you that?
Right. Right.
But
Well, and you, in your case, sometimes, well, hey, yeah, you could make it. I put an hour or two or whatever into it. You can save somebody the time. They can pay for it. They could probably do it themselves.
absolutely,
Right. Yeah.
absolutely. And the CNC that I own, that company is embracing the 3D printing world. And they just came out and said, hey, look, we designed some trays. If you want them, here, print them. They even put the commercial flag on. Said, if you want to sell them, just link back to us and say,
Oh,
hey,
wow.
Shapeoko made this, or, Carbide 3D made this.
Right. Right.
And I'm even doing some of that. And I
Wow.
showed you some pictures earlier of some of those pretty blue and green trays that hold bits for the CNC that I operate today. And it's really neat. It's a very open world right now. Now that's changing, Jim. That is changing day by day by day, actually. Not even there you go. If you're watching on video, if you look to the left, you can see Carbide 3D created some bit trays that holds bits and whatnot. And I myself wanted to add to it. So I created a little CNC. You can see the board that's holding the trays. I created that little tray holder. And then I created these little blue and gray ones on the right, Jim. Those are my designs. They're very simple, but I needed some open trays.
Yeah. The
Like,
tray underneath it's wood, right?
yes,
And then the trays there, you've printed trays on top of it. Is that right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
you can see how I double the colors.
Right.
It makes it look nice. I got the
Mhm.
little blue and gray
Yeah.
and the green and gray, which I think looks.
So that might be a router bit
Mhm.
tray might be in there, right? You could
It's the idea is to have that in the drawer to keep it clean and undamaged, but when you need to bring out your most used clamps and bits and wrenches and whatnots for your CNC, which it's a thing, right?
Mhm.
And most people just have this cardboard box, right, with all their stuff in it, and or you cut a tray out and you think it's like a shadow tray where you put your calipers in there, you put your wrenches in there, and that looks good for the first day, and then you work, and then you just shove everything in there, and
Yeah.
so
I was thinking about, there's those foam tool you put
yes,
it in the drawer and you can
yes,
cut it out and put tools in there. I was kind of thinking, what would be cool is you could do that same thing for wrenches, but instead of it being foam, you could put holders or outlines
there
for
are
these, right?
plastic holders actually. um, Usually when you buy the set of wrenches, it comes with a plastic thing that it's holding it, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
presentation. It never really works very well
No.
for working, but you can 3D print those things now, and you can get those free almost anywhere,
Yeah.
Jim.
Oh,
And
and
that's
then
the thing.
redesign them though. Maybe they're designed to hold the tools in during
Mhm.
shipping. You could take out you could design out this is where your CNC
Yeah.
experience would work, right? Extract out those holders or whatever, and
Mhm.
maybe put it so you get your fingers around them, and then
Yeah, put those
they're
little
perfect.
cutouts around it, yeah,
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
up, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've I've made so many of those, for myself,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
them you'll just see them everywhere, and, like, if I make a tray, like a whiskey tray, and I screw it up or something, I'll throw it into the drawer in the bench, and it just starts collecting bits and
Yeah.
drill bits or, you know, Phillips heads and star bits, and
Yeah.
there's trays everywhere in my garage, everywhere.
You you've got an abundance
I do.
of
I
trays.
do. But that's the cool thing about this community is you can find these things for free. You don't have to design things for yourself. You don't have to pay for things off of Etsy. Um, Someone has designed it and uploaded it for free. And you can find that. Like all of these items on the screen for the video watchers are that was free. All I had to do is provide the printer and the filament,
Yeah.
and Carbide 3D provided the design, and I printed out that little tray. That little tray will end up going in the drawer, right, to keep it from things from flying around. So that was going to be my value add, Jim. I have not gone to market with that yet, but my value add was going to be, hey, if you can print these for free, but if you want it now, you
Right.
can buy
Yeah.
mine. I
Right.
will send it to you,
Right.
and then I will give you the free file for your CNC because that's what you're buying this for, to hold
Right.
your CNC bits. I'll give you the free file
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the the cutout board, whatever you call it.
Right. Yeah. And for some, they just want it. They like for me, sometimes I just rather I'm just gonna pay for it. It's just
Yeah.
easier if I really need it.
The industry is going towards a paid model, Jim, and it's like a Patreon where
Yeah.
you subscribe to someone's Patreon and then they give you all of their models that they've created, right? And it's like a club, and there's some very technical terms about dripping models, to your patrons at a certain rate per month, and then at 12 months, or you can buy in at 12 months and you get it all. And I am right there, Jim. I'm right at the cusp. I have so many files that I've created that either sell or my plans. I have tool bench plans. Like I'm looking at, there's a $3,000 worth of hard maple sitting right here that I made this ginormous hobby bench. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it probably rather quickly. But it's a huge monster of a bench, and I have plans for that, right? But they're so it's so specialized, and I perceive it as a difficult build that I don't want to sell it because I don't want people to not be successful with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if I owned like a Patreon shop where people subscribed and they got all of my 3D printing, all of my signs. I create signs nonstop, Jim. I create. I've got plans for furniture, for shelving, for a desk, for kitchen cabinets, for laundry cabinets. You name it. I have created. You'll see some of it. This is the 2023 Halloween offering, Jim.
What we're showing on screen right now.
Right.
Yeah.
These are my signs. I took a couple of older designs, and then like that one in the middle, I did just rough the hell out of it, right? Just sand off until you feel like you've gotten it to a good point, or actually scrape off paint. Perfectly good paint.
Paint, you just paint it on there. You're not
Paint I just paid for.
just stressing. Right.
But that's something I do here and there, and selling those things. And
do you think on the 3D printer side, I'm always checking out solar power and its ROI, and I can never justify it here in Nebraska just because our power is so cheap. But the 3D printer, okay, you're in $1,000 from an ROI standpoint. You ever think you'll make that back, or is it really? I don't know. Maybe that's too honest.
I've sold a few things, Jim. I'm probably a couple $100 back into it.
Okay.
Over 5 months.
Yeah, you haven't had it that long.
Owning it. Yeah. I really feel like my learning curve is just like I'm starting to get there. It's the 3D modeling portion. It's the Fusion 360 or Onshape, or there's all kinds of Blender, Tinkercad. There's all kinds of programs that you got to pick one. You got to get out there and you got to figure it out. And that's the hard part, is drawing it before you cut it or print it. Hey, there's my kid's pickup.
I was going to say, I don't know if I was supposed to show that.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
And what the deal is I gave Jim a handful of photos, my kids, and that's my 16-year-old's new car.
Do you use it to help haul some wood from time to time?
Absolutely. It's the family pickup.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting one of these of this era. This is, what is this?
That's a 97.
Yeah.
That's old, Jim.
Yeah. Well, but it looks good.
Oh, it's in fantastic
shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like it's in good shape. But been thinking of getting one of those just for that. I've been, we built this big fire pit in the backyard, and it consumes wood, right? And we have some good fires in it. And I'm always thinking, like, how do I get more wood? Like, how do I get more wood? And listen, on Facebook Marketplace, all the time, there's people who've cut down trees and like, come take this wood.
Yes.
Like, just take it. Right. So I've been, you can't put wood in the back of a Subaru, not the Subaru Legacy. Right. I mean, I can. I bought a little mat because I have been throwing wood back there, but so no, getting a little truck like this is helpful. So I'm sure that doubles for you as
it's very utilitarian. Yeah, it's a wonderful. Speaking of, I burnt 2 boxes of wood scraps today in my Solo.
Yeah.
What I do is I'll keep think of, if you buy a case of coffee pods, it comes in a standard size box, and it fits in the Solo fire pit.
Yeah.
But I will take my cutoffs, and sometimes I even cut them back down smaller. And I don't put in plywood, but I'll put in mostly pine, cherry, oak, and walnut. All goes in there, and I'll seal the box, and I'll set the whole box into the fire pit, and I just use that clicker for the whiskey smoker.
Yeah.
And light that box on fire, and the whole thing will go up.
Yeah.
I burnt 2 of those today just to get rid of them.
Right.
No one was out by the fire.
Oh,
for both boxes.
oh, that's terrible.
I just
That's
getting
terrible.
rid of it, Jim. So you need to
Oh,
find
that's
someone like me that has scraps, and I would give you those scraps in a box ready to take to your
yeah,
campfire.
yeah. My tree. I have a tree guy that lives across the street, and so I've asked him. I'm like, hey, can I just go out with you on a run? I'll help you. Then you can give me some. We can drop off some wood at my place when we're done. And so far, that's worked twice. That's been pretty.
Okay.
It's been pretty nice. But well, that's perfect. The solo stove is perfect for that because which did you get, like, Yukon? Do you have the big one or
It's the
which
big
one?
one, and
Yeah,
it was when they first came out, Jim.
right,
It was
right,
it's a very early model, but yes, if you keep that box below the rim and you light it on fire, it just cooks it
yeah,
until there's no ash left,
yeah,
Jim.
yeah,
It's all gone.
yeah, yeah,
It
they're
just
super efficient.
disappears.
Yep.
I check on it. I'll poke my head around the corner and look at the pit and make sure it's not burning the house down. We're good to go. I burnt
Yeah,
2 boxes today.
yeah, Jay's feeling a little bad. He came on the show and talked about build the fire pit. He didn't get it done yet. So, Jay, let's get cracking on that thing. Joe also says, that I could use a flatbed trailer, and I could put a hitch on my Legacy, and we do have a Outback, so I could use that for
Mhm.
some of these kinds of things. But once I went out with my neighbor tree guy, and he's got this big flatbed trailer, and he's like, "You want some of this wood?" I'm like, "Heck yeah!" And we just put it at the end of the trailer. He backed it in the driveway. We dropped it at the next to the house, and then I split it. A little bit later, I was like, "Oh, I don't ever want to go back to collecting wood again." I mean, that's
After you
just
split your own wood, it's like, whew,
it's a good workout. I
it
enjoy
is
it.
very good.
It's a good workout. That's one of the there's something about and I use a wedge. I hand split it, so I use a
Mhm.
wedge for him, a couple wedges. There's something about hitting that wedge and that wood splits. It's just very satisfying. And you think my neighbor, who the tree guy, he's like, "You're nuts, dude." Like, but I'm like,
He does it
"Listen,
all day long,
I
though.
sit in front of a computer all day and do
Yeah,
nothing." Right.
yeah.
And
I
so
it's nice to therefore, that's why you enjoy the pit. You're
yeah,
outside, you're smelling
yeah.
the smells, and it's a complete reversal of looking at a screen.
Do you think you'll like, okay, so I'm sure Bamboo is continually working on upgrading, and is this one of those things where and that 3D printer doesn't look very big. So, do you think
It's
it'll be something they'll upgrade?
285 millimeters square.
Okay,
So, you can do about an 8-inch tall, print and 285 millimeter square print. It's not big,
right.
but it's you surprising how much you can fit in there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You also, I think you alluded to this earlier, and I think this is maybe the one of the best family things that I've seen is this the desk in the office there where everybody gathers around to build the
That
Lego?
is
Yeah.
that is definitely it.
Built by you? Did you build
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
that's my design and my build. It's all drawers, undermount drawer slides. So you see all the nice, pretty drawer sides there. And then on the other side, those are some Harbor Freight bins. I mean, very simple, inexpensive bins that we have rocket parts and you name it, hobby parts. And what the first time I've ever done this, Jim, is the top surface of this is a it's under the brand name Formica, right?
Right.
It's a kitchen counter plastic, but you can buy that, and I bought it from Home Depot, and they'll ship it to you in a big roll, and then you have to glue it down onto a substrate. And it was the first time I ever did that. I was like, I want this because I want to be able to get messy and
Yeah,
gluey
yeah.
and not have it mar a wood surface. I want it to be on a like it's a plastic. It's Formica.
Yeah,
It's plastic.
yeah. It's bulletproof. I mean, I don't wanna say it's
Yeah,
bulletproof, but
almost bulletproof.
it's
You're
pretty
right.
bulletproof, yeah.
You're
It's
right. And
it's
I
good stuff.
took a big old piece of MDF and created a substrate, and I wrapped it in. It's got mitered corners of hard maple, and you can get a better look at this on my Instagram if you want. But yeah, it was a great. it was a wonderful build. I enjoyed every minute of it. There were those moments, where I'm building it. I'm like, crap, I don't know if this is going to fit through the door. So I,
It's heavy. Both Formica and MDF are
it's
dense,
very modular,
heavy.
Jim.
Yeah,
That is very modular. So it comes apart
yeah,
into different systems and is transportable up. The top comes off, the drawers come out, and there's a big piece that just goes right through the door. And you see that there's 4 spots. There's 4 spots for chairs all around that in order to put, people. And you don't really sit a lot. I find myself standing at it mostly, but sometimes it's nice to just corner your butt onto something to sit on.
yeah.
So after we made this, or actually during the model of this, I modeled this after an IKEA chair. And the IKEA chair is not very wide, but it was 24 inches to the seat, which is like a mid bar height. It's not a desk chair. It's not a student chair. It's not a bar stool, but it's like mid bar height. So I modeled this after that. This is a tall working desk that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And they were $95. And then with inflation, they went up to like $110, $115 each. I'm like, well, I can't have this. I just need to make a chair.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want to make any old chair. I made a CNC model of a mid bar height chair that will fit my exact desk and will fit on my CNC table, which is not big. I can cut 30 inches by 30 inches on my CNC table. And so you can do it out of 2 plates, 2 pieces of plywood. You set it down and then you make the chair. There's my chair. Jim, that is my chair. I made that chair.
You designed that, and here
I
I'll
designed it, cut
go
it
back
out.
and show the video again.
That guy right there.
Did you buy the pad that you
I
threw
did buy
on?
the pad.
Okay. My
It's an
daughter
IKEA
would make
pad.
that pad for you, by the way.
See,
She could make it and sew it, and she's done that for us.
yeah. And there's so many different ways that you can create the seat of this chair. And I had a piece of plastic left over, if you stay on that photo.
Oh, okay.
From the hobby desk build, and it was 23 inches deep and it was 65 inches wide. I'm like, that's my desk. So if you think about my office upstairs, Jim, the 3D printer is sitting on this right now, right across from this little hobby table. And all of these drawers and these 2 doors are filled with 3D printing filaments and tools and you name it.
What's that? What's the wood on this?
This is the cheapest plywood at Home Depot that money will buy.
So pine or whatever.
It's Pringles, I think they called it. No, it was almost flat. Yes, it is maple veneered.
Okay. Yeah.
Maple veneered 3/4 inch
Plywood.
Yeah. And you can see I did it as a cabinet. These are 2 cabinets, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're 2 base cabinets. They're very wide base cabinets, but you can see the toe kick because I stand over there a lot.
Right.
There's not a chair sitting there.
Right. Is the cabinet design a pretty easy one to find online if you were going to build
there's
one of those?
millions.
I was gonna say,
Millions.
it's got to be pretty common.
I can sell you mine, but and I designed mine so simple, Jim. I mean, it is so simple.
Yeah.
My plan is on Etsy right now, and if you bought it and built it, you could buy a sheet of plywood and build that cabinet, this weekend if you wanted to. And it's so simple. It is so. If you can cut straight with anything, you can build that cabinet.
Well, that would be questionable for me. You sent one more picture though. You've got some. Did you build? Is this a display cabinet?
This is my Lego display shelf, and you see that moon there, Jim?
At the bottom
3D
right?
printed.
Really?
That's a 3D printed moon lamp
Really?
that took 28 hours
Wow.
to 3D print. But can you see the contours and the shadows?
Yeah.
The the photo I've taken is doing it no justice whatsoever, Jim. It looks so cool. That is so cool. And you can see my Lego. I'm a space nerd too.
Yeah. My son has that one. Same
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Loved that build. That was such
Yeah.
a fun build.
28 hours. So I'm assuming it's just as
Yep. It's just
it's going
spinning.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Layer by layer by layer.
Super thin layer, right?
It's actually kind of thick, Jim. This is
Really?
a very hardy build, and that outside layer is all the little bumps, and it's creating these shadows by thickness.
Right.
And it's an actual moon map. They didn't guess at
Oh,
this.
wow.
It
Wow.
is, and you can get that free. That model is free to
Wow.
print.
That's cool. Little
You can
light then, little light goes
just bought a
in.
light off of Amazon and
Yeah.
printed a stand and done. But you can see my shelf, Jim. Here. See, this is something I take pride in is like I ran all the trim around the shelf in a little piece of hard maple, so you're not seeing the plywood. It's called banding. And then I took on the top is a nice piece of hard maple. Um, it looks kind of like a tabletop or a coffee tabletop. It's got some beveled edges, and it's just something you take your time with and make
Yeah.
something nice
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah, an interesting design as the back is open with the exception of the middle, which has a support piece that goes down the back,
Do you
right?
know the reason why I did it like that?
Mm-mm,
Is
no.
so it would fit on one piece of plywood. I have this thing, Jim, where if I can build something out of one sheet,
Yeah,
I feel like it's a win.
yeah.
That whole shelf is one sheet. Now, the top is a piece of hard maple. The banding is, extra.
Mhm.
But most guys that work with wood, you can find that stuff laying around in your shop and you can just glue it on, nail it on, or whatever.
Yeah, here's a look of it. Here's a look at it. I'm assuming this is out in the shop. We'll throw that out there.
That's probably, yeah, it's one of my very early. But look how that maple, look at that. This is
Yeah.
maple veneered plywood
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Home Depot.
Yeah.
But once
What
you put, I think I did a wipe on polyurethane on that, which is simple. I mean, literally, you wipe it on, it dries, you sand it, and you do it again, and you're done.
what's plywood going for? Veneered plywood going for these?
That sheet was 85.
Oh, that's not terribly bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those used to be those used to be about 50
I was
bucks.
gonna say 40, 50.
Yeah.
Probably pre-COVID with everything.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. Here's a look. This is on the CNC, right?
That
And
is.
this is you cutting out that dead and breakfast sign. What's a typical like a sign like this? How many hours do you think you have into something like that?
Actually, that cut, Jim,
Yeah.
takes probably 13 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Um, the problem, Jim, is the paint. It's the painting,
Yeah.
right? You saw that round sign which has hours and hours of painting in it. And this one, the reason that it looks so funny is there's a piece of plastic on top of it.
Mm.
I'm not only cutting the wood, but I'm cutting the plastic. And then what I do is I'll clean it up and then I'll paint it. And I'm the world's worst painter. I may seem like I'm crafty, but I'm not.
Oh.
I paint like, a 2-year-old with a 7-inch, paintbrush. I am that detailed.
Oh. Yeah.
But with that plastic laying on it, you can just slop your acrylic paint on it. And then when the acrylic paint dries, you pull the plastic off.
Got it.
And your lines are just crisp.
I got it. So before the
Beautiful.
cut, you're laying it's almost like painter's tape.
Yeah.
Right. So you're putting that down and then you're letting the CNC cut through it. Then you paint it, then pull that off, and it just gives you the super
There's
crisp.
some things you have to do. You have to do some sealing tricks. Your blades have to be sharp.
Yeah.
And and you have some cleanup to do, but Jim, I cut yours in several different methods. Yours is a multi-cut because you can see how difficult your logo is because the glass is the black within the white, right? But your G and your text on the top are all cut under plastic.
Yeah, here
Yeah.
I wish I could zoom in on that now.
That's fine. That's great.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't want anybody to see all the detail.
If you get the angle,
No, I'm just kidding.
You can see the flaws. No,
I actually thought it turned out really nicely.
I really love it. Everybody that sees it goes, "Oh, that's kind of cool," and I'm like, "Buddy made that for me." So, yeah, no, super cool. Yeah, it's a little bit of work that goes into it, but I mean, this is it a little addictive to you like you start one of these and you're like, what am I doing? And then you get done and you're like, that was great. I mean, is it that kind of situation?
Yes, absolutely. There's times where you're humbled beyond belief, where you kick your boots off and you crawl to bed thinking, I am the worst maker ever. I am just awful. Why did I even try this? And then there's those times where you slide that piece into its final location. You're like, son of a bleep. I just made that.
Yeah. Step back and you're like,
I made that.
Whoa. Yeah. No, that's cool.
And surprisingly, Jim, there's a lot of makers in our community. Like Gordon Schmidt, he's a big maker. He's got more tools than I do, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Along with all those snowmobiles he has.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Gordon in a long time.
I know. I
call him back.
Every once in a while we'll talk over Instagram. Hey, how's that tool? He's like, oh, it's a great tool.
That's a good. He was a good podcaster. I'll have to track him down again.
He's a fun guy.
Of him.
Have in the community.
Have him on. He had a slew of kids at one point, 4 or 5, and he got kind of busy, and it was hard to get him.
As one will.
Yeah, his kids are probably growing up. They're probably not. They're probably racing around on the snowmobile.
Yeah, they're in Powder right now, Minnesota.
Always snowing in Minnesota. Always snowing. Well, Dave, as we think about wrapping this up, let's do a little tech, because you and I both started in this space. What's keeping you busy from a technology standpoint? Right
Tech, I am still in the Synology arena. Much of the same, Jim. There's 3 in the house that all talk to each other, that all back up. Still have a lot of cloud. I don't have the websites that I used to have, which afforded me a lot of offsite. Not only the ability to code something to do a task, but the ability to temporary store something. I don't have that anymore. So I've had to, figure some personal things out, but I do have a lot of backups. I still have tons of backups. I did open an instance of home automation that you told me to
Home Assistant.
Yeah. And I got it running and I looked at it and I connected the app to it and I looked at the app and I went to bed. I'm like, I did it. I don't know what I did, but Jim, I just don't know what to do with it anymore. So I have technology in the house, but I'm finding more and more that when its battery expires, I usually just leave it hanging up there and never touch it again and just kind of delete it out of the program. I'm currently in a mode where I'm trying to get out of smart things. I'm trying to remove myself from smart things. I do have a lot of...
It's going to make some people sad, Dave, by the way, you say.
It is. It's fine, though. It is fine. I don't feel like I have different things to chase, right? Yeah. I don't get that same euphoria as I once did when a box of door sensors are and like, 3 different kinds of door sensors. I know what I'm doing this weekend. Yes. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
It's just like, ooh, I got a new delve square from Woodpeckers. I'm like, I'm going to go square up my jointer so bad.
Square up your jointers, which is code for something else. But anyway,
right. I don't I
That's my
yeah, I don't I
yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
No, right
sure
on.
people
Right on.
geek
Right on.
out over the things they wanna geek out over, and my tastes have just moved on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and I I'm the guy that yells at the ALEXA and like, "Don't you know what I'm thinking? You know
Yeah.
what I wanna know,
Yeah.
so why don't you do it?" But
Yeah. Yeah.
I still I'm still a geek. I still wanna have my phones. I'm an Apple phone guy now because my kids are,
Yep.
and once you buy the Apple phone, you buy other things, and I bought the AirPods Pro, and I don't think I'll ever go back.
You got a watch, right? You
I
said
was
you bought an Apple
given
Watch?
I was given a Watch Series 3,
Oh, I have
and
a 4
it's
and it's great. They're fine.
I
Yeah.
just don't wear it.
Oh, well, that
I
doesn't help.
Yeah, I kinda like to wear it, but then I
Yeah.
don't, but
Yeah.
I'm sure if I had a fancy brand new one, I would wear it for a little while.
They're not that much better. Just to be honest, like, they don't do that much more. I bought the 4 instead of the 3 because it had the AFib
I think I would
feature.
like it for the health,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't need it to, you know, time my runs, Jim.
Right, right. I do right.
I'm
It's
not
not a
doing
great
this.
listen, it's not a great fitness watch for those kinds of things, but general health,
Mhm.
general tracking, that kinda stuff, it's great for.
But the common things, like what the phone can do
Yeah.
and the AirPods Pro, Jim, that's changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I mow with those.
Yeah.
I you travel with those. They're just amazing with
Yeah. Yeah.
the cancellation. I don't know how I got along with that. I used to use the
Yeah.
Bose,
Yep.
the big ones, and actually those are coming back into style. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know how I got along without those. And I've had a plethora of Apple devices all the way up to what I'm using now. I have two iMacs sitting in front of me. I'm a creative, Jim. I run creative software.
Mm.
I feel like that I just grew up with the Mac and creativeness.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I've told you before, Jim, I have my MacBook. I'm in a MacBook Air M2 right now,
Mm. Mhm.
um, which I absolutely love.
Mhm.
And there was a point where you and I were still in our Windows phase, and I bought a brand new Surface Laptop 2, I think it was, and it was beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I just didn't love it.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
just didn't love it. I just returned it. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't
Mhm.
like this. That's
Mhm.
when I turned in my pen, Jim. I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
I know. That program's 9 years old now.
Yeah.
Crazy. I just got that
Yeah.
email today from them. Yeah.
So, funny
And
story. Do you still have that Lenovo laptop? Do you remember
yeah, no,
the
no, no, that
so
thing is long gone.
yours is long gone. I
Yeah, oh,
still
yeah.
use mine today.
Really?
So the funny story that nobody on your show knows, unless you have told them, was back in a home server show podcast day. I brought up that I would like to try a Chromebook. And then the next week, here's Dave with a Chromebook. I had bought it's awful machine. It was absolutely abhorrent, awful Chromebook, but it was new, right? And I'm trying it. I liked it because it ran Chrome. 3 days after that episode aired, there's a box that, back in these days, I knew what was coming on FedEx. This came and I had no clue. I'm like, what is this? Open it up. And it was from your friends at Microsoft. And it's a brand new Lenovo Yoga. I
Yeah,
mean, this thing did the flippy bendy
yeah.
touch screen. It was top of the line, Jim.
Mhm.
I know because we got you one.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
getting to that part
yeah.
from your friends at Microsoft. Well, maybe they listened to Home Server Show and
Mhm.
they didn't. And this was a Surface Geeks era as well. And I don't think that they thought the Chromebook was that. It was just a
They did
funny
not
story.
want you yeah, they did
They
not
did
want you
not like that Chromebook on that
they did
show.
not want you running a
Lenovo
Chromebook.
Yoga. So that machine is in my garage right now, attached to the CNC. It's a 24/7
Oh, yeah,
machine
it'd be a good use for
and
it.
never
Yep,
turns off.
yep.
And Jim, when was that? When?
It's gotta be 8
Because
years ago. Gotta
because
be
a
8,
year
7,
later,
8 years
a
ago.
year after that, we traveled. We were in Redmond. We were on the campus. We were at I'll say an unnamed marketing executive's
Mhm,
office
mhm.
and asked me, "Hey Dave, you still got that Lenovo?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love that thing." And it's like, "You need another one?" I'm like, "Honestly, I don't need another one." And he's like, "Jim, do you want one?" And you're like,
Yeah, I'll
"Yes."
take one, yeah.
Inside, you were going, "Hell yeah!"
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah. Except he
those were
couldn't find the power cord.
that's true.
I had to buy a power cord for it a little bit later.
Those were the
But
days, Jim.
those were fun
Those were the
days.
days.
Joe says, "Oh, more self-congratulatory backslapping,"
I
which we
think of that often. I
I
do.
do. I use
I
that
love that.
statement all the time when
I
people are
do.
when things are getting a little carried away on, recognition, I say, "Oh, that's
Some of the
self-congratulatory."
stories that we never told, some of the stories we couldn't tell the audience,
Right,
right?
right.
Because of
Yeah,
the whole Windows
yeah.
uh
It's a
thing.
different world on campus now there. That whole program's changed over, right?
Yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Panos is gone.
Panos just
Panos is
recently, and
gone.
well, Dave, always great to have you on. I always get about an hour and some change of your voice, and then it and then it
I know
starts.
my voice gives out and I'm done. Um, in case we don't get to do this again, there's this
Oh,
other
we're gonna do it again,
story.
but go ahead. But go
There's
ahead.
this there was a time where it was Surface 3 era. I don't know why this is on my mind. I think because of that Lenovo story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Surface 3, I hold the world's record for the first human being to ever destroy a Surface 3. The device had never even been on the store shelves yet, Jim, and I'd already dropped one and broken it. The story is Microsoft was always so good to me. They flew me out to New York, and I met tons of stars, and they gave me a Surface 3, and they said, "Here, take this home. They're not released yet, and this one doesn't have a UL tag on it yet, so just be careful with it.
Mm, mhm.
Don't publish anything. Just here, take this."
Just use it. Just use it. Have fun.
Well, I dropped it in the airport. I broke it. I felt so bad, Jim.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. And I told Microsoft, I'm like, "Do you want this back?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Can I have another one?"
Did they give you one?
They
Did they
gave
give you
me
another?
they
They
gave me
did.
another one.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
They were
you
always very generous. Yeah.
Microsoft. They were
Yeah. They were always very
yeah,
generous.
they
Yeah,
were really good to me.
they
But
were good hosts. Like, when we went for all the MVP stuff that we did
oh
together, it
yeah.
was always
If
very,
there's
very
anything I
well.
miss, it's that right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Those moments. It's like I used to tell you during the meetups where you do the opening statement and you sit back in the back of the room and you just relax back and you look at what you've created and it just runs,
Yeah.
right? Those meetups. I told you that feeling. I don't know why I'd always had that feeling of like this accomplishment. You just sit back and watch it go. You created something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was always fun to do
Yeah.
that.
This is the feeling I have when I do this podcast. Listen, I told you, I've tried to stop this thing
Yeah.
several times.
It's hard to
I've
stop.
watched you stop 2, 3, actually, maybe more. But I've watched you start and stop a few, and I just enjoy, like, it's moments like this where I get to spend an hour and some change with you. We have some dear
Mhm.
friends who are listening on the other end live. There'll be, oh, a couple hundred, whatever that number is, who listen to it later. I'll get a few emails. They appreciate hearing from you. And you kind of go, yeah, I'll do it again.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't I? Like, there's no, it's not like this is hard. You just get on a microphone, ask some questions,
Yeah.
enjoy the time.
Until something in your life tells you that you need to change, there's no reason for you to
No,
not
no.
to
And there
keep
isn't.
doing
Like,
it.
my kids are
Yeah.
gone. Sarah doesn't even really like me. And so, like, I'm just, it's just like, yeah, Thursday nights, it's so funny how these things settle in and Jim Shoemaker is put the hashtag best meetup ever out there, which
That was a good hashtag.
is a pretty good one.
You know what? We have the Microcenter now, so if anybody wants to come and
We need to get out there. Yeah.
make it happen, Jim, before episode 600, get us a new hashtag, and we'll do something in the spring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe late spring, early Mayish.
Yeah, something along those lines. I've said that about 8 times. It never really. I have the hardest time getting those going. I don't know. You were always really good at that. You said it. You follow through. I've tried to. I've tried to think about Omaha would be a great location, center of the country. You think it would be easy for me, and every time I get it started, I just go.
It's an amazing thing to release something in the wild like that and have people put down hard-earned money for a plane ticket to come to something that you made. It's unbelievable. And the friends that we made, like Scoon and all these guys in your lobby right now listening are just amazing humans. Amazing humans that would do absolutely anything for either you and I or Scoon or Chris Kinney or Lux or Zadler. If we needed something, those guys would be like, all right, Dave, who we got to hurt? Let's go.
Johnny Z. Johnny Z. Oh my gosh. What great memories. What great memories. Well, Dave, I always appreciate you coming on. Thanks for saying yes. We'll have you on for 6:04 or something like that, because I'm just going to keep going. It's just too much fun. It's just too much fun. Maybe we get something together. I don't know. I say that, and then
if anything, I don't want to exclude anyone. Anyone would be always welcome. Here.
Yeah.
But you guys are always welcome.
I appreciate that.
You, Chris, and Scoon, and all these guys, and Stutzman. I haven't even heard of Stutzman in
I haven't seen
2 or
John
3
in a
years. Vinyl Freak. I think I follow all these guys on Facebook. So it's like we're in each other's hometowns. We just don't see each other.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got their thing.
Busy.
Everybody's got their thing. So
everybody's busy. Thank you for having me, Jim.
No, great to have you. Can you hang out for just 1 second as I close this thing up? A couple reminders on the way out. Don't forget to join us in the Discord group. Very nice group out there, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. If you want to leave a message for me, got a comment, a question, whatever, just go over to homegadgetgeeks.com. Just hit the microphone button and leave us a message. Kyle Wilcox, that's another name right? Yeah, there we go. Kyle's been on before. I need to get him back on too. He's always a great guy to have. The AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. That's Christian. You know him. He's been on the show, continues to come on the show. By the way, Dave, best decision I ever made was to fold in Cyber Frontiers to Home Gadget Geeks. I did. I guess I have closed down one time.
I never miss an HGG with Christian on it. Yeah, so make sure you tell him that, because I really enjoy.
I will.
He needs to double up, though.
Yeah, I will. I'll get him more. Get him on here more often. Of course, his plans start web hosting is as inexpensive as $10 a month. Check it out. Maple Grove Partners, all one word. .com. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and a few of you do from time to time. I always appreciate you hearing from you. Neil, I especially enjoy hearing from you. Neil is my most faithful emailer, and he sends me probably every 3 weeks I get a message from him. Neil, thanks for doing that. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. We'll be back next week. I think it's blank, but I'm going to fill it in with somebody, and then I've got the 2 shows behind it scheduled. We've got guests with some crazy technology that you're going to want to be here for. Come out and join us next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. For those of you who listen live, Joe, Brian, Jay, I saw Ken earlier, Jim Shoemaker, Brian, I think I already said Brian already, but I'll say Brian again. Thanks for coming out. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. All right, Dave, we made it through another.
Yay.
We made it through another.
I held up.
You did. Your voice got a little scratchy at one point, but you recovered nicely.
Yeah, I feel scratchy.
Yeah. Well, you've always, for some reason, podcasting always has. That's always been a challenge.
It always drives me out, and I always struggle.
Yeah.
Through long
ones.
Long shows. Yeah.
Long ones. God, remember when we used to do those Home Service
Marathon
Show episodes,
shows.
and they'd be like 2 hours.
Yeah. I don't know how I did that. I really don't.
Lux and John. Well, that you come on here and you do a good chunk of the talking, so that I got you going a lot, right?
Mhm.
On that, on those shows, the other guys filled in, so you had some
Mhm.
time. We all were saying things. You ever gone back and listen to any of those from those days?
No, I don't.
Did you take him
No,
down? Are they gone now? Can you get to him? Or did you
they
that
I don't know, honestly. If Apple has any type of or
no,
Blueberry
no, what
or
no, if you were using Blueberry at the time?
yeah,
Yeah, no, they unless you keep paying them, I think they have a $5 maintenance plan or
yeah, no,
something.
I pay nothing.
Yeah, then they're
When it
probably
was
gone.
when it was done, Reset is gone. Home Server Show, I'll keep the domain. I think I released reset.fm because it's just too expensive to pay for .fm, and I'm never going to use it again. So I'm trying not to hold on. I will hold homeservershow.com. I'll never release that into the wild.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You still have Geeks Network?
I
You
may. I
holding on to
don't
that?
know. I've released so many domains. Thegeeksnetwork.com. I think is what I had.
I think it was the geeksnetwork.com. Yeah. Did I?
If I don't, or if I do still own it, Jim, I'll probably release it if you want it.
No. No, I'm not gonna do. There are a couple times where I thought, well, I got the geeks thing going on, but no,
Mm-hmm.
I not at this point. I've
Mm-hmm.
got I got my hands full. I mean, we have 9 podcasts at Gallup now,
Yeah.
and I'm producing heavily most of them. So, it's like, yeah, no, I think I got my hands full at work. I think I'm good for now. Maybe, and I had this weird revelation. I thought, um, at one point I would do podcasting in retirement like that. Yeah, let's make a great retirement job.
Mm-hmm.
I took 10 days off this summer and really separated from work. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to do this podcasting
Mm-hmm.
thing as a retirement thing. I think I've done, 25 years of it by the time I get to that point. I still have, 10 or 12 years. So, but it's like, yeah, no, no, I don't think that I still may do something, but it's not going to be like a job. I don't want to go after advertisers. I don't want to, I just don't want
Mm-hmm.
to do
Yeah.
that thing. Right. That it takes to kind of do it. And who knows where we'll be in podcasting 10 years from now.
Yeah, it is so watered. I mean, it's so watered down right now, and there's no ad dollars whatsoever. Even the big guys. I still listen to ATP.fm. Um, what's their podcast name? I don't even remember. John Syracusa,
Uh,
Accidental Tech Podcast,
oh,
and those guys, they were charging so much money for ads,
mm-hmm.
and they're having trouble getting ads
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah. Well, I think I think that
Yeah.
market's going to flush out.
Yeah, well, and
I,
they all quit their jobs,
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
writing apps and podcasting, and so they have 2 or 3 podcasts each, to try to fill in some of those gaps of revenue.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's just one of those things you do for a short period of time. I just pulled up Meetup 2015 wrap up. This is from September 19th, 2015. The title on my site, Meetup 2015 wrap up news and Sophos beta, home servers show 290. Fresh, and this is what it says. Fresh back from Meetup 2015 in Indy and still on the road in Washington D.C. Dave and I get together for another home server show. That's it. That's all I put in there. And then it's a homeservershow.com/news, Sophos beta, and meetup wrap up. You and me wrapping up the meetup, talking about all the stuff that is going on. That link is broke. You took all that stuff down. But
yeah, I see someone's linking to Web Archive.
oh, Joe thinks maybe it's archived somewhere on the Did you ever put it on
On the way back?
a Wayback Machine or archive.org?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I
See,
just let
most of
things.
these shows are on archive.org. So when I shut down the average guy.tv, they'll still live out there for a while, as long as that thing lives. Who knows how
Yeah.
long that thing will live.
I
But
shopped it to a few guys and I did not want to give it away.
right.
I told myself I'm not going to give it away because someone's going to run it into the ground and it's just going to be a malware site.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's more work than people
Yeah.
really
Well, the
understood.
forums were an enormous amount of work for you.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean is
Yeah.
the forums.
Yeah.
But no one wanted to pay. It was just I would have taken $1,000 for it.
Oh,
Just if someone puts money into it, then I know that they're going to try to take care of it. But no
no, for
one.
sure. Yeah. That's a good.
I offered it to Chris. I offered it to Scoon. The Serve the Home guys, they really lowballed me on it, and I told them I'd rather just turn it off than give it to you guys.
Joe says it looks like it's still on YouTube. Joe, oh, you can't throw a link in chat. I was gonna say throw a link in chat. Jim Schoono Shoemaker. There we go. I got Schoonover and Shoemaker mixed up.
Overmaker.
Sorry, Jim. Forum's great for HP microservice, was really good, and there was a lot of good info in there. There was a lot of good. Yeah, I'm looking.
Oh yeah, and it was such a good place, but it had really, without someone curating
Right.
and creating content, you have to create content and you have to do things and you have to chase HP and get demo gear, and it's
Oh yeah, look at this. Hold on. Look at this. Here we go.
oh my gosh. Now see, all those old YouTubes are still out there. Look, oh my god, we look so young.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Look how young I look.
You got the big TV behind you and the Surface.
That TV was a staple of the wait, we're doing Surface. There's a Surface Geeks icon up there. Who is that? You look so young, Jim.
Yeah, no
Your hair
beard.
is dark.
Yep.
Clean shaven.
Yep. Yeah. Somebody said to me the other day, we age, there's this time period, from 45 to 55 where you just rapidly, I mean, you look much different than 35 to 45, right? And I've just gone through that period of 45 to 55, and you're like, oh, the beard's all gray now, kind of
I can't
thing.
even look at myself. I still have that shirt though.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the
Word up.
word?
I love that shirt.
We're talking about
There's a D-Link camera. Oh my god. That's high tech right there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, there's what's this down in the bottom right-hand corner?
That's a Surface Geeks icon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, why did we have
I'm like, there's
screen
another
sharing?
screen over my right shoulder. What is that screen?
Right here. Is that the RT?
It looks like an RT.
The RT. This is 9 years ago.
Essentials.
Follow up on Server Essentials 2012 R2 build Hyper-V hard drives.
My goodness.
D-Link cameras.
That would have been a good podcast. People would have tore that up, dude. That's why we were so good. We just hit the right time, and we had a good time.
Yeah, it was a good.
And I remember if shows were under 10,000, I'm like, what did we do wrong?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I should have monetized a lot better.
This is even earlier.
I was doing so good with Amazon.
Yeah.
Stuff. Now this is our first house in Indy, but it's not built out yet.
Right.
You can see it. It's My desk I was facing the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And that first one you showed me, I'm flipped.
Right.
And you remember where the guys were upstairs and they were all sitting in the desk. See, there's no furniture over there. That was a guest
Right.
room.
Right. Yeah.
That's so
This is
crazy.
the old Hangouts platform. The very first version.
Hangouts, yes,
Yeah.
Google
Very
Hangouts.
first version of Google Hangouts that we were on. That thing came out on Tuesday and we were broadcasting on Thursday off of it.
Cloudberry, Pogo Plug, Icy Dock, Windows 8 Pro Pack, and some Jobo. My goodness, we
I
talked
got the
about
Yeti on there.
Yeah. Oh, the same microphone. Had this a long time.
It's lasted a while. That's crazy. That is just crazy. Stable bit. Here's show 219. Oh, this one's even older. Hold on. One home service show 180. There's Zadler.
I'm probably in Wisconsin.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm upstairs. That was in the transition of leaving.
Johnny Z. Guy was all business.
He was good.
He was good. He was all business.
He was smart.
Oh my gosh.
Sure. Those stickers. Oh my God, those stickers.
Oh
You just
man.
got off of work. You're such a nerd.
I know. I came in, didn't even change.
I
had to kind of dress up in those days, and I think the guys from who are the two guys, Darren and
Cohen and
yeah
Wiskowski?
yeah
John
they
Wiskowski.
they always used to think it was funny that I would come to the show in a button-up shirt.
They were just children.
I
They're
know.
getting old now.
I know.
I still talk with those guys.
That's hilarious.
We still chat.
Yeah, Brian says interesting from so many angles the tech used back then. Cutting edge tech at the time, apps used to broadcast, etc. Yeah, it is yeah, and Joe says that's timely that 2012 R2 went EOL on Tuesday. Yeah, those days are done.
Yeah, those days are long gone.
Funny.
As I have a media, what is it? A Media Smart HP Media Smart server?
Is that right behind you?
The first Windows home server right there. Right there. Right
Oh
there.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not on though, right? Or is it?
No,
on?
it is not on.
Yeah.
See, I can open
the. Oh my gosh.
My little toaster.
Those were the days. If you're listening live, thanks for coming out, guys. Appreciate it, yeah. And we'll see you next week. I'll have a guest, or maybe I'll just be here by myself. We'll see you guys. Dave, hang tight for me. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.